Hello, everybody. Hello, Gravitrons. I'm more Gravity. Let's play chess. Alright, here I have the white pieces. This is a game that finished about 5 minutes ago, maybe fewer. And I start with the Queen's Pawn opening. Let's take a look at this game and what occurred. This is all well known. Queen's Pawn opening. It can become a QGD, Queen's Gambit declined. It could become a semi-Slav with pawn to c6. These two quite often um, transpose, or what's the word? They one becomes the other and the other becomes the one. So we'll just move on knowing that. Now knight c6 is a good move, and both sides are making good moves, just developing pieces, like really strictly towards knights before bishops in this case. Both sides have a stake at the center and toward the center. White a slight advantage due to the c pawn being developed beyond the knight at c3. Now pawn to e6. It's a good solid move, keeping d5 steadily protected, and makes way for Black's dark squared bishop to choose where to move. E7 isn't all that bad, though a little bit passive. D6 comes with complications after c5, and bishop b4 pins my knight to c3, or pins my knight to the king at c3, and that's not such a bad idea either. I decided to take away some of those options, closing the position with c5. And it forces a passive black dark squared bishop, and then I'm going to develop my bishop to a active square. Note that in here I would consider bishop g5. It looks active, right? It's what's in black side of the board. This is a little bit passive almost. You're almost saying, like, I want to get some trade in. With these three non-pawns all lined up on the h4 to d8 diagonal. And yeah, it also doesn't pin anything, right? The knight can move freely without worrying about the bishop on g5, except maybe for an attacking way. So for that reason, I think bishop to f4 here is the way to go. a6 and e3. This strong, big, solid pawn chain all the way from king side to queen side. Well, barely on each, and then two in the center, but still a 4-pawn long pawn chain. White is controlling space. Black sees this a good outpost on e4. I would say good outpost. It would be great or excellent, except my knight is already positioned on c3 to trade knights on e4, and that's what I do. So that's what the resulting trade. Is this a position that's all that great for black? With the great, well, the outpost is gone, but does the result of doing away with that tension help black all that much? I don't think so. I think that the pawn on e4 is a target right now. I guess you can. My opponent might protect with pawn to f5 rather, and that looks kind of strong. But I think all in all, both sides have dynamic. The board is in a dynamic balance. I agree with the evaluation too, that maybe white has just a slight edge because of the attack on e4, and because how straightforward developing white's light squared bishop will be. f5, like we said. Now, these pawns are doubled here, but f5 proves that these pawns are not weak while doubled. This happens a lot in this sort of zigzaggy, position where the pawns are forming a zigzag. This is very strong structurally, and even that the base pawn is supported by black's light squared bishop. Very strong, hard to unearth this. think of like rooks on the e file, and say this pawn has gone like somewhere else, but the rooks on e file, they're not going to get much traction against this pawn structure because each pawn is supported. Very, very strong to see this zigzag motion. Usually double pawns, bad thing, right? Well, maybe later on, but not yet. These are a strength right now for black. Bishop to c4, h5. So maybe scaring white from kingside castles. And pawn to a4 has some really bad press here by the computer. Let's move to analysis and see what I played. Pawn to a4. I might have played pawn to h4. That's a bit strange for me. If I played pawn to h4, then bishop takes h4, and I might kick the bishop back, but I won't capture with my rook because then the queen follows. After h4, the counter move, it looks like there's one particular move, g5, which really sends white packing. And that's okay. Yes, here we have g5 is a piece trap, right? So g3 is out because h4 will ensnare and snag the bishop anyway. d6 is out because of the pawn capturing on c7 will meet with the queen capture. So that leaves only a decent consideration, bishop to e5. And I see that the knight can capture, but is that all that bad for white? Alright, so what torch is showing us, torch 4 light is showing us, is after bishop to e5, knight takes e5, d takes e5, then the pawn on c5 is clear for capture. I think there's not much more about that than that. c5 and white can castle, and here's some more moves. You see several moves later, we're still at no more capture, so it was mostly about this c5 pawn. Honestly, in the way, yeah. So that's loses a pawn, 1 point of material, in a reasonably complex manner, and I'm okay with that. Not in tournament games, but in a game in 5 minutes, these things happen. Okay, so my opponent played the recommended move, pawn to g5. We get this. I think we end up playing into the best line. This is all computer best back to black's 11th move. Sound moves. White's looking to overload the e6 square with attackers, like have us all trained, have all these attackers. We have 3 attackers on the square, and we don't think that the rook can help out by protecting from f6. He can, however, maybe protect from e8. It's still not comfortable for black because of knight takes f5 in that situation. The rook goes to e8 now that f file is more clear. Knight takes f5 takes advantage of the pin against the pawn at e6. And white's doing well there. So my opponent was right to capture on d4 with his dark square bishop, knight capture back. In this position, black has an extra pawn for sure, and white has a really good control of the center as well as strong pressure against this weak point on e6 with tactical implications following it. I thought my opponent played really well here with rook d8, and then eventually what got me was pawn to b5, kind of unsettling this light square control that white had before that. But first, let's look at what was played first. Rook to d8, rook to d1. Not the greatest move by computer. We're okay with that right now. And preparing that move, that great move I mentioned, b5, just taking a moment of time out, patience, noticing that this is not a natural calculation that takes place. This is not something very automatic for most chess players. Pawn to c6 will be followed by b5, and sort of the hunch is that black will dominate owing to the defenders, both his defenders being pawns, and then also in some lines frees up the black rook at a8, and this is smart. I like this. Plus, when you can, classic combat, right? Your opponent controls your enemy, or I'm not really an enemy to this person. Your opponent controls the center, attack on the wing. So that's good. Kingside castles is good here. Not too much worry about being checked along the diagonal, and we are actually putting pressure on e6 and f5, owing again to this really for black bothersome pin. It's working well for white right now. And then here, best move b4. Simply drop back rather than exchanging first and opening things up for the rook, or if there's a c takes, if black plays c takes b5, then the bishop. I didn't want that. I wanted to keep that at bay. And here the blunder, the bishop to b7, just because of bishop takes f5. Materials now even, and all these other factors, connected rooks on the rank, not a safe king, right? But a safer king than black. Pretty sure of that. The pressure on e6 now is strong without the protection of the bishop that was at c8. Anyway, let's see if I could finish this out. I'll go back to review for a minute here. I'm gonna exchange pawns on the queen side, get that settled. And what white is playing here is mostly to continue to believe in this the strength of pinning the e6 pawn. Just really trying to pursue that, and then ancillary attacks might get us to that point. Like here, white's bishop at f5 is in the way of white adding an attacker to f6. So how can I get this rook to f6 without losing too much time or initiative along the way? And I found bishop g6 threatening to win the pawn on h5, while also threatening rook to f6, and white is looking pretty good with some advanced pieces, advanced quite a bit in black's territory, and so on. So h4, g4 was risky, so not the greatest move. It looks like white really had a stronger move along the way here, maybe bishop to f7. Let's consult the machine. Bishop f7 check, right, because black has to first travel and then try to expel this strong bishop. The other idea is as shown shown here in the with what torch 4 indicates. Bishop takes f7 check, queen takes f7, rook takes f7, and then rook d5. Okay, so this is strange that rook takes f7 isn't met with king takes f7. King takes the rook. Let's try to play this out in practice. I love practice. You can get in some really good finishes to your games and play out positions without feeling like overly stressed about the game. Yeah, so this I think is better for black. We see that white is still doing well. It has the queen, which is easy to coordinate. It has a point of material advantage beyond that. And black's light squared bishop seems to be bumping into light squared black pawns at each and every turn. So things aren't looking so good. This is all, queen f3 checks an idea, and then if the king stays active, queen takes c6, and that's another point of material for white to have in his coffers, in his purse, his wallet, or whatever. It's an extra point of material for white. We're attacking the rook at a8 while also attacking the pawn at b8. That could be troublesome to address for black. So white's doing very well here. I think I missed that move and played the move g4 instead, which isn't all that bad either. It's just not as good as this bishop f7 check was quite a bit better. But this counts as a miss, and it's probably a bad move. I didn't see this as maybe working out that well for white. So I played g4 thinking h takes g3 en passant, and then we might have something like queen takes g3, and white is still doing well enough. g4 was a bad move. Rook to d5. E takes d5. Rather, bishop takes d5. So we have the exchange. Rook d5. Yeah, okay. We get the exchange out of that. I'm not sure if that was why rook d5 there. This is the position with black to move. And yeah, frankly, rook d5 wasn't all that great. But black is facing quite a bit of passive pressure. I mean, rook d5, we know we don't like that right now. We'll get into that. But bishop b7 to try to uncork this bishop on the a8 h1 diagonal, large diagonal. It's slow. It's a bit slow for black to do that, and it also brings a defender away from the defense of his pawn at e6. And now bishop f7, I would see that I didn't see it earlier as the complications, but now with the defending bishop moved away, bishop f7 check. I see it, right? We got two pieces on the pawn after the king moves. So I don't know. It's one of those positions that I don't know. There aren't all that many great moves here. And I played bishop to e5. I'm in time trouble. I'm looking for something, and I get the exchange, so I'm glad about that. We're going to trade pieces off the board and try to make a more clear situation out of our attack. And we kind of got, and once in a while things go your way. We got a little bit fortunate here. This is fortunate and lucky for white. Is the attack, after winning one of the rooks, white's attack becomes a checkmating attack, and that's it with fewer than 20 seconds left on the clock. So it's an interesting game, a good game. This opponent and I think we played 3 games total, and yeah, the first 2 didn't go so well for me as the last one, but neither of us have anything to hang our heads about, and that's good. That's a win. Alright. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Have a great night.